Good morning, guys. An asteroid is on its way to the Earth, and it looks like it could hit in 2029. Collision course, total calamity, and a city destroyed if it hits. Now, guys, I'm not being, that is literally, the headlines from European Space Agency source. Before we get into this video and I share the screen with you and tell you what this is all about, I've done previous videos on the sheer amount of asteroids, that come and pass close to Earth. Guys, the amount that this is happening is the inevitability that one of these things hits Earth at some point. It's 100%. Now, what your time frame is on that, I guess that's the variable. But when I started looking into this, like earlier on this year, I was absolutely astonished and shocked by the amount of asteroids that actually come between closer to Earth than the moon is to Earth. And they just fly past. It, like, in my head, I still can't fathom how one of these have not hit the Earth at some point, that we can all think, wow, that is wild. Now, as we're in a situation on this planet at the moment where we're all spending all countries, are all spending absolutely billions and billions on war, ammunition, weapons, tanks, aircraft, ships, aircraft carriers, all sorts of wild stuff in the name of defense. Why aren't we pooling our resources and saying, right, guys, listen, okay, shall we have some sort of competent asteroid defense before we all have wars and kill each other? Because, that could indiscriminately wipe out Earth on this planet. I think it's absolutely insane at the moment that we're spending all this money on, weapons, tanks, guns, like I've just said. And there seems to be little or no thought into, protecting our planet from asteroids. Now, I know this is a bit off topic to what I usually talk about, but, I still think it's on topic because it's one of the videos we started when we started these channels. We started talking about these things, but they just don't really gather that much traction. But anyway, let's go with the share screen, guys, because this is really important if you live on Earth. So collision alert. I think I'll put that on the. I think that's a good. I think that's a good solid thumbnail. Collision alert. City killer asteroid Apophis could hit Earth in 2029. European Space Agency prepares defense mission. I think I'm pronouncing that right, guys. Apophis. Apophis is a peanut-shaped, not sized, is a peanut-shaped space rock spanning 1,230 feet, which is comparable to that of the Eiffel Tower. At this size, the space rock is not a planet killer, but is big enough to wipe out a large city and trigger planet-wide climatic effects. Now, that's if it hits a city. What if it hits a coastal region where, I don't know, where it causes tsunamis or something? Or it hits, a mountainous region and it starts a chain reaction that starts, volcanic eruptions. The fact that, these things come so close to Earth, so quickly and without much, I did a previous video and I said, I couldn't believe how these things, we only realized that they're heading towards us like 48 hours before they actually come past. That's because we've obviously not mapped the whole sky and we can't, there's certain places where our telescopes can't see. But some of these asteroids that come close to Earth, that come between the Earth and the moon, I did a video on one. I'll try and link it at the end of this video. But one of the asteroids, we only had like 48 hours before we noticed it was heading towards us to figure out its trajectory. And then to understand that it flew closer, it wasn't going to hit us, but it did come closer than the moon. Now, on astronomical scales, that's like a ridiculous red alert. Now, what could we realistically do in 48 hours? If we had if so, for example, let's just go out there with a speculation, a wild scenario. But it's not that wild when you think about it. Say this asteroid, I don't know, NASA, ESA, whoever it is, some random guy who's got a telescope in his back garden. He spots an asteroid heading towards Earth, and he says, right, that is going to hit in 48 hours. What time would we have to prepare in 48 hours? Realistically, what would the world government be able to do in 48 hours? Would they be able to give out food to people in 48 hours? Would they be able to give out water to people in 48 hours? They wouldn't be able to do anything, and they know this. Now, one of the main functions of government is to stay in government. Now, I know that sounds like, ooh, that sounds conspiratorial, but it's not really, and it's right. And I mean that in the context that without a government, there's no one in charge, and without no one in charge, you just have anarchy. And if you have anarchy, nobody benefits. So in this situation, the main task, the main role, the main responsibility of the government would be self-preservation. Now, if governments around the world knew there was an asteroid going to hit Earth in 48 hours, if they made this public to everyone, you would have, well, I'd like to say you'd have widespread panic on the streets, but you'd probably have a lot of people with a normalcy bias going, oh, it's going to miss. Oh, it's not going to hit us. Oh, it'll be fine. But the reality is, you would have widespread panic. If the government came out, told people to quick as you can, stock up on a load of stuff, get in your basement, get down, dig down, do whatever you can. If you're in a coastal town, try to head to higher ground, try to head to mountainous regions. If the government came out and said that, you would literally have widespread panic all over whatever country they said it in, and, widespread panic potentially all over the planet. In that widespread panic, the government wouldn't be able to take whatever measures necessary that they need to take to preserve themselves. So my opinion would be, in that scenario, when the government only have 48 hours to respond, like they did recently to an asteroid that was detected heading towards Earth, they just wouldn't tell normal people. They wouldn't put this thing out. They wouldn't put this thing out to the public. They would just think, right, okay, we can't do anything, so we need to do as much as we can for the maximum amount of people, and that is self-preservation of government. And then you've got to look at the government we've got, and I'm talking about the United Kingdom at the moment. You've got to look at the government that we have. Do we really think they'd be the right people to rebuild society? Do we think they're the right people we need, to understand that everybody needs to have the ability to make fire? Everybody needs to have the ability to make, find and purify their own water. Do we think the government could then help people build basic tools and start building basic shelters? Because, if an asteroid of the right size hits Earth, be under no illusion, we are going right back to the Stone Age, and all our internet communications, all our satellites. I mean, how are those people going to get down off the space station? All these things, we're pretty much back to the Stone Age, rubbing sticks together, bashing bits of rock together to make a spark, and we're starting from metal smelting again. Guys, and if we have 48 hours to react, how will the government respond? Obviously, I think I would struggle to see how there's not plans for this already in some dark back room somewhere in government, in Whitehall, I don't know, number 10, where they say, right, okay, if an asteroid's heading towards Earth, if we've got 48 hours, we do this, this, this. If we've got 72 hours, we do this, this, this. If we've got a week or 2 weeks, we do this. And those systems will be slightly different. Those triggers will be slightly different. But, we had a situation this year where we had an asteroid that came closer to Earth than the moon is to Earth. And we only had 48 hours before we, from when whoever, I think it was a European Space Agency, from when that was identified as heading towards Earth, we literally had 48 hours before that flew past Earth. Luckily, that didn't hit Earth. But, you know, I looked into this, and there is a ridiculous amount of asteroids that fall under this same category. You know, we see them at the last minute, we have no time to react, and they come closer than the moon is to Earth. And all it takes is one of these to hit one of the major cities in one of these, you know, major you know, developed countries. Like if this hit, I don't know, if this hit Washington, D.C., or if this hit Brussels or London, who else? I mean, I think there's an argument that it may do good if it hit London, but you know, this would cripple that country. And then, you know, you can go down the line of, you know, if people can manipulate weather, can people manipulate asteroids? I can pretty much guarantee somewhere that someone's got funding to do a study of controlling asteroids and giving the ability for these things to hit certain cities and certain towns in the world. Anyway, guys, just thought I'd throw that one out there as a bit of a wild card. You know, what's the thumbnail we're using? Collision alert. I think that's a fair thumbnail, guys. You know, that is literally what the article says, because, you know, we don't know whether this is going to hit Earth yet. It's too far out to see if it's going to hit Earth. 2029, I know that seems like a long way off, and we'll be able to do more, you know, more identification and do X, Y, and Z. But the reality is that's this one for 2029. Remember, you know, some of them we only get 48 hours notice before they move, you know, skim past Earth. And it's those ones that we need to be worried about. It's like I always say, you know, when you know, for a boxer, it's not the shot that you see coming that knocks you out. It's the one that you don't see coming that knocks you out. Anyway, guys, I'm going to mag to grid, and I'll get you guys another video later.